Before we get into this video, to celebrate 5,000 subscribers, I am doing not just a Q&A, but an AMA, which means Ask Me Anything. You are allowed to ask multiple questions if you have multiple, and no matter what you ask, I have to answer it. No matter how personal, extreme, just whatever you ask, I gotta answer it. So leave your questions in the comments if you want to be featured in the video, and yeah, I'll be doing it in roughly a week's time. And don't worry, I'll continue to remind you guys as the days go on, leading up to when I, do end up recording it. And just based off the questions that I've gotten so far from Discord and Instagram and such, it's gonna be quite the video. But anyways, we're back over here on Warzone, still grinding out the ABYSS camo. I've still been making a lot of really great progress. I officially had the GPNG Gold Tiger. I almost have the XMG Gold Tiger, and the PU-21 is also almost there as well. I'm not gonna lie, I did take a little break from it because I started working on the melee weapons. I can't believe I'm gonna say this out loud, but using melee weapons in Warzone is actually a lot of fun. I'm gonna have a lot of fun getting those done. You find somebody in a corner and like plunder, even on Resurgence, you see him sitting there in the corner, just go start whacking them. Well, before we get into this match, because it's seeming to take a while here, for anybody that's interested in a bit of a health update, I've been kind of steering away from mentioning it in videos, but it doesn't really make sense for me to do so. You know what I mean? I already made a whole video talking about it. I'm very transparent with you guys. I might as well just kind of openly talk about it. It's not that I'm not necessarily uncomfortable with talking about it. It's just that I don't want to be talking about it in every single video to make it seem like I'm, seeking attention or to possibly trigger other people that, just get triggered by hearing these things. But I'm currently recovering from anorexia for the I'm not trying to crack a joke here, but for literally like the millionth time, I've been struggling with anorexia since I was a kid. It really started back in like first, second grade-ish, somewhere in there. It kind of started in first, got a bit worse in second, and then it's just kind of been this thing that I've been going back and forth on for my entire life. Went through a bit of a binge eating phase in high school, which led to me being a little overweight for a bit, which then, me being self-conscious about that, then led to my anorexia from before getting even worse, and here I am. Granted, my anorexia this time was definitely nowhere near as bad. I mean, you can physically see, like, I'm not super underweight like I was before, where I was literally like way below 100 pounds before. Again, I try to steer away from exact numbers when it comes to like calories and weights, because I know that stuff can be triggering as well. But back in 2021, when I initially needed to recover, I was way below 100, and I'm not gonna lie, I was lucky to be alive. It was pretty bad. And when I say that I was lucky to be alive, I don't mean just going off of how I felt. I mean like genuinely like going off what medical professionals told me. This time I'm not as underweight, but I will say I do wear large size clothing, so it doesn't seem as bad on the surface, but underneath it's pretty rough right now. But I've been doing what I need to do for the last like 5-6 days now, something like that, and I still feel like garbage because my body is in full recovery mode right now. But I've been sticking with it. I haven't let anything deter me, none of my negative OCD thoughts, none of my negative anorexic thoughts, nothing like that. It is just me running the ship here. I'm gonna die, and you know what? That is completely okay. Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. Shout out to those of you that know what movie that's from. Yeah, I've just been taking it one day at a time, and I will say the one thing that has been really annoying, and it's happened to me every time that I've recovered from anorexia, is the extreme hunger. It's a very common thing that happens to literally anybody recovering from anorexia. I don't think I've heard of a case where somebody hasn't experienced this in anorexia recovery, but basically what happens is your body finally goes out of survival mode where it clings to like son of a bitch. That's what I thought. But basically, every time that you eat something while you're underweight, your body just clings onto it in a way that most people's bodies wouldn't. So that's why if you're very... You really thought you were gonna win that? How fuck? That's why if you're underweight, it might feel like your body takes way longer to digest something compared to like when you weren't underweight, or just compared to like normal people. Granted, there's also other things that could play into that, like say if you have IBS or just, anything else like that. But once you stop restricting your food intake... Come on, bro. Every time that I go to say something, somebody starts shooting at me. Like, I can't talk when you're shooting at me because I gotta listen to what you're doing. Like, are you sliding? Are you shooting? Are you plating up? I see you over there. Yeah, I don't even know why I was trying to go for that. I think my best move is just trying to roll out of here for a sec. Is anybody on this rooftop? Maybe? No? Am I safe to reload? So once you start eating normally again, your body's like, whoa, we can just digest this food normally, and that's if you haven't been restricting long enough to where you've actually done damage to the way that your body, you know, digests food, or just damaging your metabolism permanently, which, considering how many times I've gone from normal weight to overweight to underweight and, you know, just all over the spectrum, I am very lucky that my body hasn't completely given out on me as far as, like, my metabolism and digestion overall goes. Dude, where was he? So your body will not only digest food at a normal rate, but it will actually do it at an accelerated rate because your body is using all of the resources that it gets to oh my gosh, dude. Oh, come on, man. To rebuild everything that it ate away, because obviously when you're underweight, what happens is, since your body doesn't have enough food to keep going, it feeds off of itself to keep itself going. So like right now, you know, I'm underweight, and the reason I'm underweight is because I wasn't eating enough, and therefore my body ate all of the muscle tissue and fat tissue that I was able to build up during my year of anorexia recovery back in 2022 when I got up to like the mid 120 range. I was super healthy. Sure, I had a little bit of the baby fat on my cheeks and on my stomach, but that's normal during anorexia recovery. And if you're also recovering from an ED, just know that that is completely normal. You know, don't get discouraged when you see the puffy cheeks or the puffy tummy or the puffy buttocks. You know what I mean? Like, that is completely normal. It'll eventually, you know, if you keep exercising. No, don't exercise too much though. Make sure you don't exercise too much. But with proper exercising, just enough time being allotted, and when I say exercise, more like strength workouts and like targeted muscle groups, like targeting your legs and your arms and your chest and your abs and everything like that, and just doing what you gotta do, that can sort of start to like help accelerate that process. But obviously, if you're exercising, make sure you're eating enough to offset that. But otherwise, even just like with enough time, you know, that stuff will just kind of like naturally go away on its own. But for me, it was just a weird thing where, again, I don't even know what happened necessarily. I got like sick during my recovery, not sick from like eating too much or anything, but just literally like I call like an illness, like a cold or the flu or something, for a few days, and it just I don't know what happened after that. I was like, I'm not gonna eat as much anymore, and then that led to where I am now. And it sucks because for me, anytime that it comes to my recovery, it always takes me until I hit rock bottom, to a point of where I feel like I'm dying before I start my recovery. That's what happened last time, where I literally almost died, and then this time it was more or less just the thing of I wasn't as bad off as last time, but I still felt like I was dying, you know, constantly feeling very faint, constantly needing to sit down, constantly just feeling not good. Just feeling like I could fall over and die at any minute, basically. Like, you know, I'm not trying to laugh about it. It's more of a laugh of discomfort, but it just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, leading up to last week, it was just absolutely brutal. I constantly felt overheated or way too cold, because when you're underweight, your body can't regulate its temperature, and it was just, it was brutal. And even now, you know, I still feel pretty terrible, because again, my body's just in 4-para mode. Anytime that I eat something, your body needs even more food when you're in recovery, because not only do you need to eat enough to maintain, but it also needs enough food to like go around and like rebuild everything that it ate away from itself. So yeah, I've just been dealing with this extreme hunger, which sucks, because literally, like, you know, for like lunch, for example, because since I'm in recovery, I have to eat like way more than I normally would or should. So like my lunches, you know, I'll pound like 740 some calories, and then my body afterwards will be like, hey dog, I know it's yeah, I know you just finished, but hey, can we maybe get some more food in here? But you gotta be careful with that, because sometimes even if your body tells you that it's quote unquote still hungry after you pounded a ridiculous amount of calories, it's better to wait it off for at least a little bit. Obviously, don't like completely starve yourself or whatever. Like, that's the opposite of what you want to do. But you don't want to do too much at one time, because too much at one time can make you sick. And then if you get sick, well, then you lose all the food you just ate. And obviously, that's completely counterintuitive. And that can also lead to binging, which is, again, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and is also something that you want to avoid. Also, going back to the binging things, I know I kind of just slightly mentioned that I had a bit of a binging thing back in high school. It was never an extreme binging thing where I was super overweight and I binged all the time. You know, I completely overestimated that drop. I thought I was a lot closer than I was. Drop one in AFK players. Oh my god. Like, why do you shoot the other active players? You're supposed to shoot the AFK players. Y'all are so fun. My binging stuff was never too extreme. Like, binging regardless is bad, obviously, but it was never to like, oh, you know, I binge a bunch of food and then purge, or binge until I purge. Like, I never made myself sick off of it. It was just one of those things where I was just constantly snacking. I mean, you could also attribute that to me just being like a growing teenager at the time, but even despite being like a growing teenager, I was obviously still just eating more than I actually needed to, and I knew that. For example, a quote-unquote snack for me would be like, oh, I don't know, like 2.5 to 3 servings of peanuts, which is like 450 to 500 calories right there, depending on the brand and flavor of peanuts, plus a granola bar, which is like an extra 150, unless I was doing a Nature Valley Crunchy one, which is like 190 to 200, depending on the flavor. So you're looking at like a 600 plus calorie snack, which is more than most people's meals. And if that's just a snack, you can only imagine how extreme my meals were. Sorry, my voice is giving out. I was talking a little bit more than I'm used to yesterday, so my throat's been really sore all day. Usually the only time that I talk is to record these videos, so I only talk for like an accumulative, maybe like an hour tops every single day. And yesterday I was chatting for a little bit with some folks that I met on COD, as well as talking to my family for a little bit. It wasn't even for that long, maybe like an extra added 2 hours of talking in my day, but even that was enough to just completely throw off my throat, you know what I mean? Like last night I felt it kind of coming on, a bit of a sore throat coming in, losing my voice a little bit. But now today my throat is a little sore, it feels a little dry, kind of feels a little raspy, kind of feels like there's like a lump in my throat, which is like how I know that I was talking way more than I should have. And I know that sounds crazy for most people, like what? Only 3 hours of talking tops and that was enough to do it to you? But yeah, it's like working out a muscle that doesn't get worked out, you know what I mean? Like, I don't talk that often. It's like an hour tops in a day, and if I talk more than that, then I know I'm gonna pay the consequences the next day, just because, again, my voice isn't used to much. I just don't like talking. That's probably why I talk so much and talk so rapidly in my videos, because my brain is like, oh my gosh, man, there's so much I want to say. Let me get this all out at once in this little recording session. According to my TikTok comment section, I am a professional yapper. And I'm also professionally dead. Yeah, dude, Plunder ain't working. I'm going back to Resurgence. I know everybody says that, like, Plunder is the way to do the ABYSS camo grind, but for me, Resurgence has been so much faster in terms of just doing it overall. Again, I know individual weapons have been taking me a bit longer to get done, but overall, I've been making so much progress on every weapon in the game that it really balances out. And I don't know, I just find it easier to find people, kill people, and get a lot of kills over in Resurgence. Sure, I have bad matches sometimes, but for the most part, I've been doing a lot better over there. I just kind of go to Plunder when I'm either looking for a chill time, just drop in, camp out the AFKs, and run around the map, or if I have, like, specific challenges to do, like most wanted contracts and stuff, then I'll do it in Plunder, but yeah, I don't know, that's just kind of where I'm at the moment. I think I'm going to call it there for this video. I'm feeling a bit out of it today. That's another thing. I've just been feeling very faint, not having a lot of energy. That's why I've been talking a lot lighter in these videos lately, too, just because I really need to conserve all the energy that I can, because even though I'm eating more and eating more than my body actually needs right now, you know, because you have to be in a surplus when you're recovering, it's eating all that up. It really needs to rest right now, so I think I should listen to my body and just kind of call it there for this video. We'll pick things up here tomorrow, and obviously I'll grind ABYSS throughout the day, so by tomorrow we'll see where I'm at with the camos. But yeah, I really hope that this conversation wasn't too triggering for anybody, and, you know, if there's any, like, final piece of motivation I could give you, whether you're dealing with a binge eating disorder, anorexia, any other type of eating disorder, or even if it's not an eating disorder, if it's just something else physical or mental, maybe you need to work out more, maybe there's something you feel like you could do better at your job, whatever it is, you can do literally anything that you set your mind to. You are the only person getting in your own way. Once you get out of your own way, you'd be damn surprised just how much you can do. For example, back in 2021/2022, I went from being way below 100 pounds to, within a couple days, slamming 3,000 plus calories every single day, and within just a few months, I got myself all the way up to like 125, was working out nonstop. I obviously didn't get shredded because I wasn't, you know, actually fit for that long, but during that time, you know, I started working out, I was in really great shape, and I did all that within just a couple of months, when just a few months before that, I was like an absolute skeleton. So for me, that's kind of like my motivation, to look back and be like, okay, I got out of my own way and did all that crazy crap in that short amount of time once. I can totally do that again. And likewise for you, just think back to anything in your life where you're like, man, I'm not going to get through this. There's no way I can do this. But look at you now. You're still sitting here. You're still watching this video, which means you found a way. You did get through it. You're better now. And you can do it again with whatever is going on in your life. Just get out of your own way, find a solution. And remember, if you're unable to do it on your own, because, you know, if you're anything like me personally, I always tackle everything on my own. You know, there might be a few times where it's like, hey, you know, maybe I need to reach out to a professional, for example. Like when it comes to like medical stuff, you know, I do take that stuff seriously. So even though I never really go to doctors or anything like that, if I have genuine life-threatening concerns, like when it comes to eating disorders and stuff, yeah, I've no problem reaching out to professionals, more or less just to verify, be like, hey, you know, I'm not gonna die, right? Like we're all good, like I'm not gonna die. Like that's like just my main concern, you know. I don't, you know, I've said it before, I'm not afraid of death. My time comes, it's just how it goes with life, you know. When it's your time, no matter how young or old you are. But at the same time, if it's something I can prevent, then yeah, obviously I'd like to prevent that. But seriously, it doesn't matter how big or how small it is. That's what she said. I gotta stop. If you need help, it is okay to get help. It is a sign of strength and courage to reach out for help, because that means that you are ready and you are accepting that help. Getting help is not a weakness, because that shows that you are strong enough and you aren't egotistical enough to think, oh man, I can do everything and anything on my own. No, you're strong enough and have enough courage to admit that, hey, sometimes you can't do everything on your own. For example, fighting Millennia in Elden Ring, fists only while afflicted by cold, level 1, naked. And again, you're afflicted by cold, which means that you're gonna be moving at the pace of a tortoise every time you dodge. Even though you're gonna be doing fast rolls because you're naked, they're not gonna be very fast. Sure, you might be able to do that on your own, but it would probably be nice to use a mimic tier or call in a friend and get some help. Hopefully that helps to put things in perspective. Again, it's not a weakness to call in help. Sometimes, again, when you're going up something against something like Millennia, when you have all these afflictions working against you, might not be a bad idea to get a little help. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, that's where we'll call it for this video. Thanks for listening to me ramble for a bit, as always. You know, I seriously love you guys, and I want nothing but the best for all of you, and I hope my story can kind of help at least inspire some of you in some way, or just kind of show you that, hey, you know, anything's possible, and it's never too late. No matter what's going on, there's always hope, and there's always a way, so keep fighting, and I promise you'll get through it. Everything always works out. I mean, you're still sitting here watching this video, right? That means everything worked out in the past, and it'll continue to work out going forward. Just keep your head up. You got this. But anyway, as always, massive shout out to all the Patreons and channel members taking only the low ball tier, and an even bigger shout out to on the big ball tier, Mel Asking, and Big Daddy Manny, and the biggest shout out to on the G tier run events on the Cheese Girl. Thank you guys so much, guys. You're literal legends. I love you. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.